Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 43 of the Bright Horizons podcast. Today we're going to be talking about why failing is an important component of success. You can't win without losing first. And also, happy Thanksgiving to everybody. I actually almost forgot until just now that...
happy Thanksgiving to the Canadian people.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was going to say.
Oh, yeah,
For all the Canadians out there, happy Thanksgiving. We will definitely wish Thanksgiving to all you American folks out there later when the time comes. But as always, I hope that you have a lot of things to be thankful for. And if you're feeling like you don't, just remember, you could be in a much worse position, regardless of how bad things are. So find the things to be grateful for, and I'm sure that you'll find some happiness in that dark times. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So, like I said, we're going to talk about failure, see why it's not so bad, and hopefully by the end of this, you guys won't be scared to try new things because you will realize that failure is important.
Absolutely. And you know what? I'm going to kick this episode off with a very prevalent topic as of right now in today's pop cultural world.
Mm-hmm.
KSI's new song. Like, listen, I'm just going to say it. First off, I've listened to the whole song, and I genuinely don't think it's that bad. I think, yes, a lot of people hate it because it's funny and it's a trend. I completely agree with that. To a degree, yes, I'd say the song's like 60% good. 50% of that 60% is Trippie Redd's part, but 60% is good, 40%, I don't know if I really like it. It's not my thing. Mm-hmm. But I hate when I watch these videos or see these videos of KSI on his channel like, you guys are just hating on my music. My music is good. And it's like, dude, if your audience isn't taking your content well, then clearly there's something that's not good, right? And it's not like that's his only song ever that's terrible. Like, I'd say, go out there, like, you guys who haven't listened to it somehow, by some miracle, you haven't heard the song, go and listen to it and see what you think for yourself, because I think that the hate is very forced.
I mean, to be fair, I didn't even know this was a thing until you forced me to watch or told me to watch it. I had no idea that this was a thing because I spend minimal time on social media. The only time I'm actually on Instagram or TikTok is to post our own videos and interact with people on there. But so for the most part, I didn't even know that this was a thing. And when I listened to it, we were sitting in school. This guy's like, yo, pull it up and listen to it on your laptop. So I put the headphones on, I'm listening to it, and I'm waiting for that terrible part to come. And I just keep listening. I'm like, okay, it's not bad. I mean, it's not great, but it's not bad. I wouldn't hate it or justify how much hate he's getting right now. I mean, what was it?
From the screen to the ring.
Oh, actually, wait, we might get copyrighted just for saying that.
Yeah,
I just realized.
But
you guys know the bar. That part, I mean, it was kind of funny, but it wasn't that bad.
That's what I'm saying. So I think that a lot of people are blowing it out of proportion of how bad it was. And also, KSI has some really good music.
He does have some.
I'm not gonna say he's a top tier artist or anything, but he has some pretty good songs that I would genuinely just listen to in my spare time. So I think, yes, a lot of the hate is forced. But the main point here is that KSI couldn't deal with the fact that people were making fun of him. Yes, I know this guy was kind of taking L after L with the whole Lunchley situation and Dan TM, and then now the new song. But regardless of whether hate is deserved or not, if majority of people aren't liking your thing, you can't just sit there and be like, everybody's a troll, my life sucks. Because he actually acts like that. He acts like the entire world is against him. And it's like, you've built an entire empire making millions of dollars. One of your songs doesn't hit the way you want it to, revise it and make something better. Literally, your fans are giving you free critiques as to how they don't like your song. Make another one. So many people go and try to strive for that. This guy built an entire channel, built an entire following. So now if he ever wants to launch anything, he immediately has a backing for his stuff. For his music, he had a backing. For his food products, he has a backing. For his boxing career, he has a backing.
For Prime, he had a backing.
Yeah, exactly. So this guy's got a lot of these people behind him, and it's sad to see him just turn on everybody because he believes in himself. He's too proud to admit that sometimes you make a mistake. Right? And yes, I believe that some of the hate is forced, but at some degree, you have to reflect on your own decisions and be like, is what I'm really doing my best work? Right? And if people are telling you no, then reflect on it, because clearly he's made better music. There's no question he has made better music. So if you're capable of greater and you fall short of that, there's nothing to be ashamed of, but you just got to pick yourself up and keep going at it for the next time.
Yeah, 1,000%. And I mean, one of the greatest examples that I'm going to use literally right now, because I've been sitting here watching the game for the past hour, is Joe Burrows. Everybody knows this guy had I don't want to say the word, the energy of a god when he was first in playing college football. Everybody thought this guy was the GOAT. And he's playing on Cincinnati. He's playing pretty decent. But just now watching this game, it's past the time that he'd normally sleep. So he's tired. Maybe he's playing sloppy a bit. But overall, it's just not his game. Even last game, they lost pretty badly. And Cincinnati's on a pretty bad losing streak right now. But even in the press conference, Joe Burrow takes his losses like a champ. He sat there and said, you know what? We didn't show up good enough today. There are things we got to improve. We got to move forward. He didn't sit there, point fingers, and be like, yeah, these people suck. These people suck. We totally should have won that game. No. He sits there, accepts the failure, moves forward, and finds ways to improve. And that's what makes him a formidable player. And I see his future being bright. You know that most often the person who's compared to Michael Jordan in like football senses, I guess you would say Tom Brady. But next up, I'd say, would be Joe Burrow. If you give him a decent career, give him time to improve and get better, he's got the mentality of those greats. He really shows responsibility and ownership when it comes to failing. And that's something that we all got to learn because failing is so important in life. One of the biggest reasons why I think it's critical is because failing removes fear. It kills the fear in trying something for the first time. So when you mess something up, the next time you go at it, if you choose to keep going, which is a critical point, which we'll get to later, the next time you attempt that thing you failed at, you don't feel as afraid because you already tried it once. And I'm going to give you guys a great example. And in fact, it's one of the reasons why I'm coming into this episode with so much energy, so much happiness, and so much euphoria behind me. This weekend has been one of the greatest weekends of lifting in my entire life. I went to the gym after a 5-week program. Me, Nithik, and my friend Eric, we went there. We've been working out for 5 weeks on a specific program, and today was the final day, okay? And yesterday is when we hit our squats. The 1 rep max day where you get to go as high as you possibly can. Now, truth be told, before this, my PR was 275 pounds for squat. And I really wanted to hit 315. But up until this point, I hadn't even attempted anything past 275. So I went into the gym yesterday, pumped with energy, and I hit 275 for the warm-up. I'm like, okay, I got this. Jump up to 295, failed. I'm like, okay, what do I do now? Eric said, you know what? Let's get it to a round number. Let's put it at 300. Try again. Give yourself 5 minutes to rest. So I rest. He ups it to 300. I try it. I fail. Then what? Drop it back down to 295. Failed again. Dropped it to 285. This is where I said, I've achieved failure. Now it's time to win. So I hit 285. Then what did I do? I bumped it to 295. I hit 295. And then what did I do? I defied all the odds, put on 315, and hit it. After failing and failing and failing again, I came back, I did not give up, and I hit 315 on squat. 315 pounds on squat when I only weigh 175 pounds. I am so proud, and I would not have achieved that if I didn't fail first. Because when I went into that for the first time, I was scared. That's a lot of weight to have on your back. One wrong move and I'm breaking my knee or breaking my spine, and it's over. So I was scared, but after I messed it up a few times, I knew, okay, I've done it before, I can do it this time, and I'm going to succeed. So if you mess something up, don't be afraid, and more importantly, don't give up, because you do have a chance to repeat it. You do have a chance to go back and win.
I think that people need to abolish their fear of failure. Mm-hmm. And I'm people too, because I would say, first off, is getting in the gym and PRing was something that I was actually relatively new to prior to this program. I didn't PR at all. Like, I was just a hypertrophy kind of guy. I didn't even know what hypertrophy meant at the time. I was just like, hey, I'm going to move the weight for, 8 to 12 reps, 4 sets of whatever exercise I'm doing. I had no idea about all this PRing stuff. So when I went to the gym with these guys and they're like, you got to PR, I was like, man, I have no idea. And I'm terrified to fail. Like, I was so scared of failing that I would literally hold myself back from going all out because I was afraid that if I went up too high, I would fail. And especially for a squat, this is where I saw it crazy was the most I had ever squatted prior to this program was 135. 1 plate. Absolutely nothing. And I just squatted 2 plates for my PR. I went up 90 pounds in, 5 weeks? And I think I could have done more. I genuinely think I could have possibly got 225 for 2 and possibly done 245. But obviously, time will tell if we know that that's true. The biggest fear for me was bench because I was always scared of failing on bench. I don't know why it was such a big issue for me. But today I hopped on that bench and I wanted to do 185. A big goal for me, right? I weigh 160 pounds. I was like, I started this program again, barely being able to bench 135. Like, yes, my squat did actually start where my bench was, but that was more a form issue, and now my squat shot up. But my bench started at 135 pounds. And I was like, man, I don't think I can do 155. I set 155 as my target weight because I sold myself short because I was so scared of doing too much. And then when I went into it and I actually tried it, it flew. 155 flew. 165 flew. Hell, I tried 185. It didn't fly. Unfortunately, it was an effort. I made an effort. I got about I'd say a third or
I'd say about 75%.
Yeah, 75% of a rep, but I didn't get that last bit, so I didn't count it. I decided to drop to 175, do it for a full rep. I got 175. It was a fight. That rep was a fight. That rep in and of itself was its own like battle. And I'm so proud that I was able to do it. Like if anybody sees the clip, like I was fighting for my life on that bench, but I got that bar up. The bigger point that I was trying to make is that I was so scared of, not being able to move weight that I didn't. Failure literally held me back from doing what I was already capable of. Not even doing more than what I was capable of, but doing something within the 70% range of what I was capable of. I was scared to do 155. I was scared to do any of the weights above that. I was scared to do 135 when I started. But how did I get rid of that barrier? Was just by realizing that it's okay to fail, right? Sometimes you drop the weight. Okay, I meant have a spotter at all times. But sometimes you make a mistake, right? Sometimes it slips. But that's a part of life, right? And it teaches you where you can grow. Because if you never actually go to failure, you have no idea what it is, right? If you do 8 reps every single time, but you're capable of doing 20, you'll never know that because you never push past 8.
Yeah, exactly. And you said that the fear of failing is what holds you back. And I could not agree more with that stance because even when I was in the gym doing the squats and I failed again and again, every time I fell short and I dropped the bar, makes a loud noise and everybody is looking at me. Okay. Well, actually, no. In general, my gym is much better. Like our gym is much better with people not staring at you. But if it was a rec center, everyone would be looking at me failing. But, I mean, some people definitely batted an eye, for sure. But even in my own mind, that didn't bother me. I didn't even think for a second about what other people thought. In that moment, it was just me against me. And every time I failed, I thought, okay, I learned something. Clearly, my foot was a little bit off there. Maybe I could have my feet closer together. Maybe I need to achieve more depth. Whatever it was, every time I failed, I found a little thing that I could tweak. And then you come back and you get better. And it's literally that clip. I don't know what his name is. I even tried to find it before I started this episode, but I couldn't no matter how much I looked. So if you know who I'm talking about, you know. But he was on a podcast and he said, I fail and I fail and I fail, but I'm a bit better. And you go through this cycle of failing over and over and over again, and you keep getting better. And then one day everything just clicks and you win. And that cycle is critical for everyone, right? The key in failing is that it teaches you so much. If you stop fearing failure, you give yourself an opportunity to learn. And that's the thing. I think that a lot of us have a fear of failure instilled in us by school. That's one of the most critical places where kids spend a lot of their time, right? And yet, when we go into school, we're given these tests, and if you mess up a question, you lose marks. Yes, it gives you an opportunity to assess later on and understand, but you're so hung up on the fact that you lost marks that you don't really pay attention on how you can get better, right? A lot of people I know, especially in university, lose their mind over marks. And I have a really close friend who's in university right now, and she was writing a quiz today and lost her mind because she got one question wrong, even though she scored a 29 out of 30. 29 out of 30 is still really good, but that one question you got wrong, it sinks your mood forever, right? And you can't be like that. You got to lock in, and when you make a mistake, learn from it. And don't be afraid to make mistakes, because making mistakes means you're trying something new. It means you're trying something that may be a bit beyond what you're capable of right now. But that's the beauty of it. By attempting what you're not capable of at the moment, you give yourself the opportunity to reach that eventually.
Absolutely. And it's something that ASAP Rocky actually said in an interview. He said, how are you going to knock somebody in the world for trying? Since when has it become not cool to try? And that hit me like a semi-truck, man. I was sat there hitting the thinker pose after that quote, because it's so simple, but I think it's profound. I think so many people judge other people because of their own inadequacies, right? You see that there's nothing going on, or I don't want to say nothing, but you feel a certain kind of shame within yourself because you're not somewhere where you want to be. And I don't want to say I noticed this because I wouldn't have said it was shame so much as admiration. Is I was at school the other day and I was with one of my friends who plays the piano. And I watched this guy play the piano and I was like, oh my God, this guy's crazy at playing the piano. And then he told me, he's like, man, I've been doing it for a while, but I really just look at the music, practice for a bit, and I can get it down. And he's like, you could probably do it too. And out of that, admiration for how talented this guy was, I knew I actually grew up playing piano, so I know, the notes and keys. I can read music. I'm not that great because I stopped, but we still have a piano at our house. So I picked it up and I started playing again. And it sucked. When I tell you that first day of playing piano was the worst thing ever, it brought back all the trauma of being yelled at by my teacher, the frustration when your hands just don't work the way you want them to. But then that second day, after all those feelings, after all the mishaps, it started to click. It just started to work. I was like, oh, that's what I'm doing wrong. This is a new way to practice, right? Instead of practicing, both hands at the same time, isolate. Practice one at each time and then put them together, right? Instead of trying to practice it all in one go, break it down by sections, right? It's simple, but I never would have got there if I didn't just accept the fact that I'm not there yet. You need to accept the fact that the journey hasn't ended yet. You need to accept the fact that you're not at the peak yet, that you still have room for failure. And once you accept that, life becomes so much easier because everything is a step now. Nothing is just an obstacle. Everything becomes another barrier that takes you higher, right? Even walls, once you climb them, you're in a better place than you were before. There's actually a quote. It's every single event in your life, especially the difficult ones, have made you smarter, stronger, and wiser than you were yesterday. Be thankful. So I thank all my failures because they made me a better person, right? They gave me the wisdom to approach challenges in a different way. Because think about if you never did it. Imagine if I never picked up playing the piano. I'll be in a worse situation because I never would have tried something new, right? Suppose someday down the line now, I know how to play the piano. I've picked up a new skill that I might really enjoy. Talked about it on the last episode. You think after getting crushed by my friend in table tennis the first time I ever played him, imagine if I had given up then. I got humiliated by him the first time we played. He had played so much, I had played none. He lies and denies that to this day. He says that he didn't play that much before, but I know he's lying.
Capping.
I'm just going to put that out there. Not that he'll see this, but I'm just saying. The idea is that you can't let a simple failure, especially at the beginning. The beginning is so crucial, and the beginning is where the most failure happens. Mm-hmm. The thing is, failure is going to continue to happen throughout your life. Whether you want it or not, it is an unavoidable reality that everyone will fail. The question is, when do you let failure stop you? Truth should be, in an ideal situation, never. It can't stop you from ever reaching your goal. I think that failure can sometimes delay us, right? Because it takes time to process it. You're not going to come across every situation in your life, and after something goes wrong, you're going to be like, all right, time to get up again. We're not that simple. As simple as it may be, because in retrospect and rationality, everything seems simple, right? You can fail, but okay, it made me better, so I'll keep going. Right? Humans aren't rational creatures. You said this to me the other day.
Yeah, 1,000%. I mean, it's something that you learn over time. We like to believe that we're rational creatures, but in reading the book that I'm reading right now, Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss, I strongly recommend reading it because it teaches you a lot about negotiation. And one of the things he talks about is an experiment where he's in a university or a college classroom, okay? And to his students, he presents the problem. Okay, one of you gets $10, and this is from his own money. He gives each of them $10, okay? The other person in your pair gets nothing. Now, you two have to negotiate a deal where the proposer says, okay, I'll give you this much money. The acceptor, the guy with nothing, says, okay, I accept that deal. In the occasion where the acceptor takes the deal, you both get to keep whatever money you negotiated. But if the acceptor doesn't accept a deal, neither of you get the money. So it forces the person with the money to negotiate and somehow convince that other party to take money. Now, ideally, you want to give them less than $5, right? You want to make a profit. But to the other guy, nothing seems worthwhile except for $5. There were many cases where the acceptor did not accept a deal below $5, when in reality, $1 is still better than nothing. So when Chris goes on stage after the whole experiment and he sees all these people's deals falling through because the proposer doesn't want to give the other guy half, He says, "Do all of you believe that you acted in a logical and rational manner?" And all the students go, "Yeah, I'd say so." And he says, "Nope, you're all irrational, emotional creatures." And everyone starts freaking out. But then he says, the reason why is if the acceptor took $1 as a deal, that would have been beneficial to him. So in that situation where the deal falls through, you guys are irrational. And to the proposer who proposed anything above, a dollar is the most reasonable bet for the guy who has all the dollars in his hand. But if you give somebody more than that when you don't need to, that's also irrational because you're afraid of failing at the deal. So that just proves that we're irrational creatures. But like you were saying, where failing is a critical point in all of our lives, I think one point where a lot of people will fail and really need to take time to evaluate themselves is a breakup. Most people don't see it the way that it should be seen. Most people say that person did me wrong or, they broke my heart. They broke my heart. That's a critical sentence because you are completely throwing away the chance for you to become better. Maybe they did. Maybe they messed you up bad and did something on their own. You can't control that. What you can control is the aspects about yourself, what mistakes you made in the relationship. Maybe there was something you did that drove them away from you and made them do certain things. And even if you did perform as great as you did, just accept this experience as part of your character development, right? Nobody likes the guy who had everything handed to him, the guy with daddy's money, the guy who gets all these sports cars, watches, and nice clothes from his father who's a billionaire. Nobody likes that story. People like the story where he started from the bottom, where he worked hard, where he earned every single penny that he spends. And not only do people love that story, you should love that story.
Yeah, that's what I was going to get to. I was going to get to the fact that if I'm living a story, I want it to be my story, right? Mm-hmm. So for me, I'm going to put this out there as personally, our family's in a great position, right? We're in a great position when it comes to finances. We're extremely blessed. We have 2 hardworking parents. I refuse to accept $1 from my parents. At any turn I can get, I will always actively choose to avoid getting money from them because I want to earn it. I want to learn the value of it, right? And obviously, if I'm in a super big pinch, I know that they're there for me. So I don't have the kind of struggle that somebody truly has, someone who's truly from the bottom. But one day, or actually in general, it makes you very conscious. When you remove the safety net, life becomes serious. I started to really, after I stopped working my job, I started to really evaluate my spending habits. I was looking at my bank account. I was like, man, I have spent a lot of money because I had money coming in. So I was like, okay, no problem. But now that experience of realizing that, hey, I don't have all the money in the world. I can't keep spending money wherever I want. My life's completely changed. I spend way less money than I did before. Other days, I was going out almost every single night, spending money wherever. Oh, who cares about this? Who cares about this? Buying things I didn't really need. But now, I'm a lot smarter with it. Why was that? It was because I needed to give myself the chance to change. I need to accept the fact that I'm not perfect the way I am, and that, I made some mistakes in the past, and I want to change them. But back to your breakup analogy, one thing I did want to say, this is something that I've heard time and time again, but I feel like not enough people have heard it for how wise it is. And the statement goes, imagine that you get bit by a venomous snake. Would you chase after the snake and explain to it why you didn't deserve to be bit? Or would you go and find an antidote?
Damn.
It's so brilliant. This is why I love the internet, is you can find some of the most brilliant minds. I don't know who came up with this. You can find the most brilliant minds who put out brilliant topics. Don't chase the snake. Right? These people hurt you. That's their choice. They chose to hurt you. Right? You didn't choose that. But what can you do? You can reflect on the situation. Hey, I wasn't perfect in the relationship, but I want to be better for the next person. So how can I improve myself? Turn everything into a learning opportunity. That's something that we've been taught. Actually, I don't know if it was something that we've always been taught. But I think it should be something that we should always be taught, is that every mistake is just another opportunity to get better. That's why I'd say testing, the format of testing seems interesting to me, because I think that we should have a test earlier on in a course, kind of like a practice test, because it really outlines what you need to know and where you have fallen. People don't realize where they make mistakes, and that's what leads to them failing the biggest. is because they never took the time to reflect on their own failings. So I'd say journal, right? It's a big thing. Or reflect on your life, because that's how you get wisdom. Wisdom is from experience. But if you don't remember any of your experiences, guess what? You're not coming out of life with any wisdom.
Yeah, 100%. And you said that failing is a teaching moment for all of us. It's where we can learn something, right? And it's funny that you brought it up on your own unprompted, because this is something I was going to ask you. When you grow up and inevitably become rich one day, do you want to be the type of dad who buys his kid everything that he ever desires and gives him everything without any work?
Like my kid's doing slave hours. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Just joking. But to be honest, 100% my kid will have to work for his money. Like, I will not pay him an allowance or anything. I would pay him to work at a company that I own. I would pay him to work a real job. I'd tell him to go get a real job. But I wouldn't, of course, I would provide the simple things. But I would want my kid, I think, to grow up how I grew up. Regardless of how technology evolves and all this new stuff that'll be coming out, I want my kid to grow up in the same way that I did. Because I think that my childhood was something I cherished so much because I was able to get both sides, right? I was able to get, as I got older, I got more of like the electronics and the online digital age, but I got to grow up outside, playing with sticks, in the forest, right? Yeah. Doing the things that allowed me to have a creative mind. I think that kind of an upbringing is kind of beautiful in and of itself. And again, I want my kid to be able to say, I earned this, right? Like even personally, I don't like it when somebody's like, oh, that's something nice. And I was like, yeah, I got it given to me. Unless it's a really important gift, it's like, I don't feel like I want it.
Yeah, that's a critical point, because for me, I want my kids' birthdays, Christmases, holidays to feel special. Like, I want to give him or her something that they cherish deeply. But I am not going to buy the whole world for them solely because I want them to learn how to earn their own stuff. Because by learning how to earn it, you also learn how to keep it. Notice how people who win the lottery lose all their money within a few years of winning. It's because they don't know what to do with that kind of money. But imagine you were someone who earns a lot, loses, but you figure out, okay, clearly I can't spend my money here. I got to spend it here. I got to invest it here. I got to save it here. That's the type of person that when they win the lottery, they become rich for life. So don't be afraid of failure. And more importantly, don't be afraid to work for it. Work for it and learn. Fail and learn. Learning is the most critical point in all of this.
I think that the fear of failure and the fear of trying something new are one and the same. People fear trying something new because they're afraid that they're going to fail. That was a mouthful. But the point being that people are really stuck in their ways because they're scared to try something new because it might not work. But again, I bring you back. I said this last episode, and I'll say it again today. What Jeff Bezos said about Amazon is that he said, had it not worked out, I would have been completely fine. But I wouldn't have been fine had I never tried. And it's brilliant. It's simple. Is that there's so many things in your heart that you want to do. Genuinely ask yourself this question. Sit up one night and ask yourself the question, what do I really want to do? What are the things that I truly cherish and I really want to do, but I never took the step to do it? And I can assure you that once you do that, you're going to find a hell of a lot of things that you are so afraid to try. For me, one of the things was a club that I joined. And I love this club. I'm glad that I got in, but it was a hard process. Went through a lot of rounds, lots of interviews, lots of competition. And at any time, I could have thought to myself, I'm not going to make it, or somebody else is out there that's better than me. And I accepted that, though. I accepted the fact that there might be somebody else more talented than me. So how can I do better? I accepted that I'm not the best, right? That acceptance is so important because it helps you swallow your pride. And, pride is a killer. It really ruins a lot of the things in your life. So being able to swallow your pride and accept your failings, it leads you to be a better person, right? Because it allows you to fail. I think one thing for me growing up especially was I was so dependent on other people's opinions of me, right? I used to think and I know this seems odd to you, I think, because in my own family, I didn't really care what you guys thought of me. But to the outside world, I was very serious on this as I was growing up. I always wanted to be portrayed, or actually, let's take this back a little bit. We're going to go through a bit of a Nithik's childhood story. And
okay.
We're backtracking to the days of Kumon.
Oh my God.
For those of you that know, you know. but both of us went through Kumon, and it was arguably one of the worst experiences of my life. Like, when I tell you it might have been straight up torture, maybe. Like, you know that a place is bad when their mascot doesn't even smile.
Oh my God.
Their mascot has a straight face. How do you let that happen? Like, that's what that made me realize. Like, after I started to pay attention to that, I was like, it all makes sense now, right? But, like, at first, it's all sunshine and rainbows. When you're starting out and it's the easy levels, it feels so good. You get that dopamine hit every time you're done a page, and then they put you up on the 100% board. Greatest thing. You get to level JKL, it's over. It's wraps. Especially when you're in 8th grade and don't know what you're doing. And then you start cheating, and then it just starts piling up. But aside from that, the point being, first off, I just want to say, I don't know a single person that went through Kumon and came out the same.
Yo, it is a torturous experience.
Like, listen, I think that, yes, it did contribute a little bit to me being
for sure, same. 100%.
Like, more academically successful individual. But do I think that it's the best route? Trauma for this? I don't know.
I mean, it's funny because you like you said, you do so good in the early levels, and then you get to the late levels where it's tough and you're actually learning new stuff. And this is literally, if you rewind 10 years in mine or his life, and you look at us in the Kumon room writing like our in-class assignment, this is what we'd look like. Wait, let me... Like
yeah,
this.
like,
This is what I
know.
look like. And I sat there straight up, like, I would actually pull my own hair out while I'm sitting there. I'm not even joking. When I'm sitting there writing something and I don't know what I'm doing, I grab my hair like this, and I tensely pull it out obsessively.
I would twirl my hair like this in my finger.
I actually lost my mind.
Yeah, it was really bad. But the point I was getting to was it really helped me be a little bit ahead of the curve in elementary school, especially because I already knew most of the stuff going through it. So it also does help you pick up concepts pretty well. It helps you self-teach, which I think is super important in today's world. It makes you very self-reliant. Again, the methods are arguable, debatable, whether they're the best.
Yeah.
But in any case, they did teach a couple of good things. So when I was going through elementary school, I think a lot of people looked at me as a pretty smart kid, and I looked at myself as a really smart kid. You know, I grew up getting great grades, and, you know, everybody telling me, oh my God, you're such a smart guy. That eventually it gets to a point where I am so obsessed with this image of showing people that I'm this super smart guy because everybody's crafted that image for me. Now everybody believes in their head that I'm this person. I feel like I have to live up to it. And what happens is you begin to live for other people. I remember I began to purposely skip out homework because I thought it would be so sick if I could get 100% on tests without doing homework, which worked for a while. It worked for a while.
That's
in
crazy.
Grade 10, I got 100% in math without doing the homework.
Like the test or the course?
The course.
What?
Yeah. I remember my teacher, she would ask me, like, I'd be on my phone, and she'd be like, oh, I'm assuming you already done the homework, so I'm not even going to ask you anything. Sometimes I didn't even do the homework. That's why Miss Gordon's the GOAT. Miss Gordon
is the GOAT.
If you ever watch this video, you are the GOAT. But the point was that I was so obsessed with this image of showing to everybody that I was a smart guy that it actually turned me away from getting help. Because I didn't want to ask questions because I didn't want to seem stupid.
Mm-hmm.
But that was my failing. My failing was flying too high.
Icarus.
The story of Icarus. And the idea is don't be afraid of failure. I think people misconstrue that idea. Icarus wasn't not afraid of failure. Icarus wasn't bold. Icarus was arrogant.
Yeah.
Because he took everybody's criticisms and threw them out the window. Instead, take your criticisms and genuinely question it. Your haters are your biggest builders. They're the people that are going to truly make your life better. I made that up on the spot,
That
too.
might be a banger quote.
That is
right
a
there.
banger quote. I'm going to have to write that down in a
Oh
minute.
my God.
But absolutely, these people that want to pull you down show you where you're leaving the openings. Right? These people are literally giving a step-by-step guide as to how to better yourself. Listen, I don't condone tax evasion, okay? I know that's
Where did we get tax? How did we get here?
Okay.
What happened?
I hit the shelf. Almost dropped a book on my head again. But the idea, okay, but tax evasion. Hey. Okay. The idea, right, is that the IRS or the CRA, right? They technically provide you a step-by-step handbook on how to avoid taxes. If you just read the rules and regulations, you can see how to dodge it. Now, again, I do not condone tax
Okay,
evasion.
but I don't know if I count that as tax evasion, more so as just using the system.
I'd say it's avoiding taxes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Wait, but that's literally the same thing.
No, it's
Evasion
not.
is just
Evasion. It's like evading tax. Like tax evasion is an actual. It's a crime. Like it's listed as a crime.
Okay, yeah.
Avoidance of taxes.
Man, yeah. I
Well,
mean,
like,
to be fair,
okay.
also that's why people get rich because they exploit loopholes in the tax code.
Yeah.
For
So
example,
I'm saying exploit loopholes in your own life.
yeah, there
Right.
you go.
Like look at your own life and be like, okay, where am I being pulled down? Where am I losing? And then you literally have found. It's like a dam that has holes in it. Just look for the holes, man. You'll see them. It's pretty clear, right? It's pause, but it's not hard as humans to see our flaws. They are there. It's just we try to cover them up and mask them for other people, right? I think genuinely you don't have a problem with you, but you have a problem with the way that other people see you. And that leads you down a bad path. Because instead of genuinely changing for the better, you're changing to make yourself seem better. But that's not really what you want to do. That's not what you want to do with your life. So I suggest that you start listening to your haters to find out where you need to change. Where are you failing? Because that's what you can fix.
100%. And you were just saying that. What was it that you just said? It was such a perfect thing. Oh, that you are not afraid of you. You are afraid of what other people think of you. That is a critical point because just like I was saying earlier, going back to the gym, when it came to that squat failure, I didn't look at how many people around me were staring at me. I'm gonna be straight up with all of you guys out there. We go to a gym where there are so many meatheads around us throwing around weight like nothing that the screaming, or I don't really want to say screaming, but maybe yelling that comes with lifting weights in a private gym where people go there to be serious about lifting is normal, right? So when I step under that bar, if I'm yelling to pull the weight up as hard as I can, I'm really pushing myself. I don't care what anybody else thinks. I'm sitting there in my own world, fighting my own battles, seeing my own failures and getting better. Same thing when I fail. I'm not looking at all these other people around me, watching me drop 295 pounds. I'm sitting there wondering, how the hell am I going to get this up on the next rep?
That's what, especially, and again, I can't stress this enough. Like, we've talked about it so many times on episodes, but when I'm in the gym, for example, and I don't want to say that, like, the point being that you never receive hate from somebody below you, right? Something that David Goggins has said. And I'll explain why this connects in a minute. But when I go to the gym and I see some dude benching like 350 pounds for a PR and they mess up, I never sit there and like, damn, that guy sucks. I'll be like, holy guacamole, this guy moved the weight at all, right? Like, that's crazy to me. I've sat underneath the bar and tried to move 225, and I could barely even unrack it. This guy is moving 300 at all. To me, that's insane. But the idea is that when somebody sees me pushing 185 and failing, they're like, damn, that little kid just pushed 185. He almost got it, right? The thing is that nobody in the gym, and I'd say a lot of people in life that you should really care about, don't care if you fail. They're going to sit there and be like, at least he's trying. The people that truly matter are going to say, at least he's trying.
Yeah, it's
right?
literally that thing you said a couple weeks ago where you said,
those who mind don't matter and those who matter don't mind.
There you go. See? So say that slowly one more time for the people who didn't get it.
Those who mind don't matter and those who matter don't mind.
So the people that care whether you fail or not, their opinions are irrelevant. But the people who don't care, who sit here and say, he tried, those are the people that you should really consider closely.
And the people that push you to keep going.
That's
right?
fact.
Like, I'd say there's a difference. Like, when you tell me, if I say, hey, man, I'm going to go send $3 million to a Nigerian prince because he just called me, and you're like, bro, come on, let's be realistic here. That's
John Wick needs help. He's stuck in Tilted Towers. He needs your parents' credit card and the 3 numbers on the back.
Don't send us your credit card information, please. Just putting that out there. Hey, we just talked about tax evasion. I meant, wait, can you, just quick side tangent, can you get taxed on that, like, if people send you money?
No.
It's
It's just an e-transfer. But it depends on, like, how you use it, right?
Okay.
Because, like, if I use your credit card for, like, fraudulent purchases, that's a different story.
Okay, yeah, that's like,
But if someone
Identity
sends me
theft.
money, there's no taxes on that.
oh, interesting.
Unless
Okay.
there's, like, a bank fee. But other than that, no.
Yes. Oh, man, what was I going to say now? Getting distracted by
We were talking about the Nigerian prince.
Oh, yeah, so if you tell me, hey, man, like, is this really a wise option? You're not doubting me. You're saying, I have your best interests at heart, my friend. are you sure that this is a good idea? Right? There's a complete difference. Another person will be like, hey, man, you suck. You're an idiot. Don't you ever do anything again for the rest of your life. That's the difference, right? So you need to be able to distinguish that. Right? If you go into for example, I'd say in school and a teacher's like, hey, man, that was like, you did really bad on this test. Why'd you do bad? Right? You messed up here, here, here. Don't take that as, oh my God, this teacher hates me. It's no. They're pointing out my flaws so that I can get better. And I think that, yes, I don't think that tough love is always the best. I think it's a great motivator. And you need to be able to be humble enough to accept that you're not perfect. Right? Once you accept you're not perfect, man, criticism goes a long way. The reason that criticism and critics in general break people a lot is because they believe they're so high. Take KSI. We opened this episode with that. We're bringing it back full circle. This guy's ego was so hurt because he feels on top of the world. Right? He feels like he's this guy who's, he's done all this stuff, which he has. Nobody took that from him. But one strike at him hurt his character. Because listen, I can't attest to KSI at all, right? I can't. But I'm saying if I was in that kind of position, I was making the kind of moves that he's making, hell, if I had one bad song, I wouldn't care if I had 10 bad songs, man. Like, I'm KSI. That wouldn't be a big problem to me. Listen, KSI, if you ever watch this for some odd reason.
Yeah, there's no way that's happening.
There's no way that'll ever happen.
We get it, yeah.
But it's not, I think that there's something deeper at play there. It's not just the bad music. I think it's an issue with his character. Because once you get up there, man, it's a high view.
Yeah.
So to see a bunch of people breaking you down from beneath, you need to realize that, hey, man, I got to stand strong, right? There's always going to be haters. That's a part of life. And you're always going to make mistakes. And those people are waiting to bite, right? They're waiting for you to make a mistake. But recognize that, right? No matter what you do, somebody is going to point out a flaw. Somebody out there, you could be the greatest person on earth. Somebody will point out a flaw.
It's very interesting way you put it, but for him, it's like standing on top of a mountain that he built and then seeing a couple of peasants at the bottom of the mountain using their pickaxes to try and break him down and him walking down there personally to yell at them.
Yeah.
That's insane, right? You stand atop of this giant mountain and everybody loves KSI, what he came from, who he was. He's a hilarious guy. I remember watching some of his videos when I was a kid, right? I didn't really watch him a lot, but I saw some of his videos. Really funny. Some of the greatest clips ever. You looked at me. Like his videos with Deji were so funny, right? Everybody has respect for this guy because he's a great YouTuber. He makes great content. But it's when somebody points out their flaw and they can't accept criticism. That's when it gets ugly and that's when people turn against you. That's exactly why him and Logan Paul immediately attacked Dan for his criticism of Lunchly. Even if Dan TDM's criticism may not have been fully accurate, regardless of what you believe, it shouldn't have hurt their egos that much to the point where they turn around and start flaming him for everything he ever did. Now what happens? They start a turf war they completely didn't need to start, get hated on by the millions of people that grew up with Dan TDM, and now Lunchly will probably do much worse than it would have done if they just kept their mouth shut and kept moving, right? You don't have to respond to every hater. And honestly, I would say listen to them sometimes so you can see what's wrong with what you're doing, right? And more importantly, even if you fail, it doesn't matter. The point is you get to try again and again and again, especially when you're at that level of success. There is no shortage of money flowing into either of their pockets. Logan Paul's doing WWE, KSI still does YouTube, he makes music. They have all these different avenues. I don't understand why this minor thing affected them so much. Yeah. But one other thing that I really want to get to is the fact that you can fail 1,000 times and it makes that one success 10 times better.
Absolutely.
The best example of this is The Mighty Ducks, one of my favorite movies of all time. These terrible hockey players get scrapped together to play against some of the best teams out there, and they lose and they lose and they lose and they're terrible. But eventually, they find out, okay, through these losses, I realized what each player is good at. And that player is going to play to his strengths, and together, we're going to win. And then the story ends with them winning things. That movie is such a good movie because they lost so many times. And then when they win, everybody is happy for them. Everybody loves to see the guy that fell 1,000 times got back up. That's what people love. So don't be afraid to be that guy. Just because the 1,000 failures sucks, it doesn't mean that that winning moment will too. If anything, it means that it's going to be 10 times better than the guy who got it right on the first try.
Like, I'm willing to bet you $1 million that 315 wouldn't have felt as good on squat had you not failed.
I was about to say that.
Yeah.
You know, if you, the video that I have of this squat attempt. You can see my face
Yeah.
after I step out from under the bar and I scream, "Let's go!" And if you look at my eyes, I look like I'm about to cry because of how much struggle I went through, how many times I messed up, and I came back and I did it anyways. That euphoria cannot be replaced by anything. The amount of times you fail and you get back up and you win, that win feels so much better. If I got 315 on the first try, it would not have brought me the same joy. So don't be afraid to fail, man. Go out there and do it properly. But that's a critical point that I want to get to, is that failing has a right and a wrong way to do it. Because you could fail and not learn anything, and then fail again, and then fail again, and then fail again over and over and over again, and never get better. Why do you see people ending up on the street? Why do you see people who never make it big? It's because they didn't learn the proper way to fail. So I'd say, when it comes to failing, the first critical point is learning. Once you fail, you need to reevaluate and think, okay, what did I do wrong in this situation? How do I get better for the next opportunity? That's critical. Without that, you're just going to be a buffoon who consistently fails at the same thing over and over and over again. If you make the same mistakes 1,000 times, it's not a mistake, it's a choice.
Yeah, absolutely.
Even if the mistake itself is not a choice, it is a choice to be that ignorant to not accept criticism or not see where you went wrong. That's about swallowing your pride, right? Like you
Absolutely.
said, you need to swallow your pride and accept that you are fallible. You are human. So learn how to get better, right?
I was going to say, like, one thing is you can't consider mistakes to be anomalies, right? Like, that's one place where I faltered a lot, is I'd be like, oh, I made a mistake here, but don't worry, I won't make it next time. It's not like me to make mistakes, right? You develop this self-image of yourself. And again, I think it goes both ways. One person believes they're so great that they don't make mistakes. One person believes they're so bad that they don't make any achievements. Right? I'd say you need to find that middle path of understanding that my achievements are great and so are my failures. To accept both sides, the good and the bad, right? You need to understand that, hey, I'm not perfect and failure is bound to come, but I need to be able to grasp that failure and use it to pull myself up, right? Failure and all these kinds of things are tools. One thing I definitely want to urge, especially to the younger people, because as you get older, I believe that risk becomes larger for a lot of people to make that big shot. So especially while you're young, take those shots, take those chances, do the things that you don't want to do the things that you do want to do, right? Do the crazy stuff, because right now you have the chance. You don't realize how much it's gonna hurt when you don't have the chance anymore. Things hurt so much when you don't have the chance to do them again. And one time that I felt this, man, was when we went to Playland, the PNE. And we were there with one of our exchange students, Tommaso. Goat Tommaso.
Shout out my boy.
Shout out Tommaso. We're going to fly him out from Italy one day for an episode. But
Yo, actually, yeah, we got to do that.
that's going to be a great episode. But this guy, you know, I remember the day this guy landed, he started talking with we had a sleepover with all our entire, like,
That was like
10-man
13 people there.
Yeah,
I'm not even
there was
joking.
like 13 guys that he has never met. This guy just flew in from Italy, just met us, and he hung out with us the whole time for the
He
entire
went out,
time.
he played ball with us, played football, came back and hung out with us.
Yeah.
He was the GOAT, man.
It was crazy. But anyway, one day we went to the PNE with him, and this guy, me and him went on the Revelation at the PNE. I don't know if you guys know what that is, but it's also called the
Ride from the Diary of a Wimpy Kid.
Yeah, the Ride from the Diary of a Wimpy Kid. I think it was based off of it.
Yeah.
But it's like two cages on either side of this massive like pole, and then you guys spin around. At first, man, if he wasn't there, I probably never would have gone on it. And I'm so glad that I did. I remember, like, I usually don't get I'm not afraid of heights or anything, or like scary rides, that kind of stuff. But I still remember going up and seeing the people screaming. I was like, yo, that is pretty scary.
That is very high up.
Like, sometimes I was like, man, I don't know if I really want to go.
Yeah.
But I was like, you know what? I'm going to stick it out to the end. I'm not afraid. I'm going to just go ahead and do it. And man, if I had never done that, I don't remember the last time. I don't think that the ride has even been back for like that long. I haven't seen it. In all the times I've gone to the PNE since, I haven't even seen the ride being there. So I wonder to myself, man, what if I never did it? And we built a huge memory of it. This is one of the core memories I have with this guy, right? So if I had never even tried it, I would have been left with that hole, and I wouldn't even know that it's there. That's what's so scary to me. That's why I want to try everything, because imagine someday down the line, you reflect on your life, because right now you won't realize it. But someday down the line, you'll realize, oh my God, I had that chance.
That's crazy because I was just thinking, for me, that experience is going on the pterodactyl ride at Universal Studios
Oh, yeah.
Japan. That ride was crazy for me, especially because I'm not a guy who liked rides. I'm going to be completely real with you guys. I'm not afraid of a lot of things, but I don't like rides. Just the fear of knowing that one mechanical slip up is enough to get me killed, I don't like it, okay? But I sat there as my friend said, you know what, let's do it. Mama ain't raised a loser. You're goddamn right she didn't. I'm going to go on there and do it. So the second they strapped me in, I was terrified, especially when we tilted up and we start flying forward. Terrifying experience, but amazing. After that, every other ride seems so doable. And to be honest, the best way to explain it is you saying that there would have been a hole in your memories that you wouldn't even know about. I'm thinking to myself, man, imagine if all that joy I experienced and all the mental barriers that unblocked for me, imagine if that was just deleted from my mind right now. That's crazy. Or if hitting 315, what if that memory was just deleted from my mind, right? By attempting the impossible without fear, I accomplished so much, and it opens the door for me to do so much more in the future. But if I never took those steps, I'd lose all that. That's a terrifying reality. So yeah, go out there and try things, face your fears, do things that you might fail at, because at the end of the day, you fail, but you get a little better, right? Fail properly. Learn how to fail properly. That's a critical point, because actually it's something that Gina said in Brooklyn Nine-Nine. Gina once said, if you fall down 9 times, you got to reassess how you're walking, man, because something's wrong. And she's 1,000% right, man. If you're falling that many times, clearly you got to learn something. She's a genius.
The fact that we just quoted Gina on the podcast is quite crazy to me.
Gina is that woman. Okay?
That is true.
Honestly, genius. I actually really like.
Genius. That was a terrible pun. I'm so sorry.
Hey man, I was just trying to keep the energy
But
going.
yeah, I appreciate that.
Okay, well, anyways, yeah, but I think that Gina's a very fascinating character because she's actually an underrated genius in the show. Like everything she does is like kind of an ulterior motive. I mean, she's a kind of quirky, awkward character,
Kind of manipulative person, but yeah.
but a genius, right? And nonetheless, she was spitting bars with that, you know, that quote. Because if you're gonna fail this many times, clearly you need to learn something. So when you fail, assess it, look back at what went wrong, and learn. And that's what you said earlier, to keep a journal. And that's what I thought to myself about how I would go about telling someone to fail properly. When you mess something up, you put it in data. You put it in an entry. You put it in the back of your mind so that one day you can come back and look at it so that if you ever face a similar situation, you know exactly what to do. Let me give you an example. An investor during the 2008 housing crisis. What happens? He pumps all his money into all this real estate. Bang, the housing market crashes. Next time this happens, he has 2 choices. A, to look back and learn from his failure. Or B, to accept that he is a bad investor and never try again. The guy who learns goes out there, and when he sees a housing crash coming, what does he do? He holds his money and buys the second it dips. The guy who never learns goes on back to his normal life, accepting that he is a loser. So when you fail, learn and put it somewhere in the back of your head so you can come back to it, and the next time that opportunity presents itself, you win. That's the goal in life. Because failing without learning is simply failing. Failing while learning what you did wrong, that is growth.
Thank you guys so much for sticking around to the very end of episode 43 of the Brighter Horizons podcast. I wanted to give a quick apology. I just wanted to issue an apology because we did miss one upload last week. But I just want to let you guys know that we are really trying to pump out 2 videos a week. But at minimum, we will ensure that we get one out every single week, no matter what, for you guys. But before you go, before you click away from this video, it is time for Quote
Of
the
Week.
Harem.
Quote of the week. I think you guys are really going to like this one. Like everyone else, you want to learn the way to win, but never to accept the way to lose. To accept defeat, to learn to die, is to be liberated from it. So when tomorrow comes, you must free your ambitious mind and learn
Oh, sorry. Continue.
learn the art of dying. Bruce Lee. My glorious king, rest in peace. A huge inspiration to me, especially considering that we did a lot of martial arts growing up. I looked up to him, and he's a genius. And he's had so many amazing quotes, but this one stands out to me a lot. And I hope you know that when you go out there and die, it gives you a chance to be reborn.
Apologies for cutting in on the quote of the week.
You good.
I got too excited in the moment. I was like, oh my God.
I mean,
I
hey,
know this quote.
yeah.
It's Bruce Lee.
Yeah.
But yeah. I got
That's
caught up in
valid,
the
man.
moment.
I mean, I'm sure that all of you at home were also jumping in saying, oh my God, it's Bruce Lee.
Yeah, because who doesn't love Bruce Lee?
Who doesn't love Bruce Lee?
Thank you guys so much for watching this episode. We really appreciate it. Stick around for next week and ensure that you embrace failure, that you understand that you're not perfect, and that every single mistake, misstep, and failure is just another step on your way to success. And make sure you live a positive life, y'all. Peace out.